So the Barista Touch and the Barista Pro are two of Breville's newer and higher-end models. They're both packed with some of the latest features, but they look very different from the outside. So how different are they in reality? Well, that's what I'll go through today. So to start, let's talk about the design of both machines. And they both have the classic Breville look, which is a stainless steel exterior, except you'll notice the Barista Touch has much sharper edges to it. It looks more like their older models. Meanwhile, the Barista Pro has a slightly bigger design, more rounded edges, and also has the big knobs on the side for the grind setting and the steam wand. Personally, I like the Barista Touch as a little bit slimmer, but note that you will be emptying out the drip tray a lot more often. Both of them have the same water tank at 2 liters. Both have a slide-out drip tray with compartments behind them. And they also have spouts for hot water underneath, which is really nice. So both are quite good, and it really just depends on your preference for the look. Now, let's talk about the displays, which, like I said, is going to be the most obvious difference in these two machines. You'll notice the Touch is actually named after its touch screen. And when you look at it, there are 5 different drink options here, from espresso to Americano to latte, flat white, and cappuccino. And everything is controlled from this touch screen. You'll actually hit a drink, and then you'll see there are the settings for grind, brew, and milk frothing. And you control everything from here. And you can customize your drinks as well and even add your own custom drinks. So if you want, you can go through the custom drink option here, hit add new, choose what you want. Now, what I tend to like to do when I do this is I do a custom drink setting, and then I go all the way up to 45 seconds. That way my shot never ends too early. I also turn the temperature down to 140, which I find is more manageable. Then I also like to turn the froth setting down to about a 3 for a whole milk, or maybe a 5 for a non-dairy milk. And I find this gets a more creamy texture, a more silky texture. That's what I like. Choose your icon, choose a heart, because we're very nice here. Just call it craft. Then you'll see this is always here on the screen. You have your preset settings. There's also a settings icon for some advanced controls on here and even some tutorials. Now I'll tell you the summary of the kind of good and bad of the touch screen. On the good side, it's a really high quality screen. I never had an issue pushing the wrong button, even when I was hitting some of the small texture settings or the total extra settings. It always worked, which was great. Also, the screen was very intuitive. I never looked at the manual. I just started using it, and right away it was very obvious what the settings were. Now, on the bad side, I just didn't really use the functionality. There were 5 different drinks, but I felt like I just defaulted to latte, and mostly because latte was just in the middle of the screen. I didn't really add custom drinks, even though I did try using it, and it is nice. So you might just not get full value from this. So meanwhile, the Barista Pro has an LCD screen. You don't interact directly with the screen, but you use the menu button and the grind dial to change the settings. So you can actually customize your 1 cup and your 2 cup, and then you can also change your water temperature up 2 degrees or up 4 degrees, or even down 2 degrees or down 4 degrees. And then there are cleaning modes for descaling and backflushing here. So you can change the same things in the Barista Pro as you do on the Barista Touch. It's just a little nicer on the touch screen. But I actually probably prefer the Barista Pro because of the simplicity of the screen. So now let's move over to the steam wand, which I think is the biggest difference in these two machines. The Barista Touch has an automatic steam wand. So you'll notice there's a temperature sensor in the drip tray, which regulates the milk frothing here. And all you need to do is lift up the steam wand, put your milk jug underneath and on the temperature sensor, and then when you choose a drink option from the home screen, you'll see that there are milk froth settings here, both for temperature and texture. And you actually get a pretty wide range of settings too. There's 8 texture settings, and then you can change the temperature by 10 degrees. And once you choose those and you start, the steam wand does the rest. It takes about a minute, and I find that those granular texture settings actually do make a difference. Like I noticed there's between the 8 and the 5 and the 1 setting when doing a whole milk or even an oat milk as well. And the temperature is very accurate and very consistent over time. Now on top of that, the Barista Touch steam wand is self-cleaning. So when you're done, you lift up the steam wand again, take out your jug, give the wand a quick wipe, and when you put it back down, it'll even purge itself. Now that's really nice. And not only that, but it gets a little better because the steam wand is partially insulated. So what I mean by that is you'll notice if you take off this tip, there's actually plastic on the inside. There's another plastic layer in here that insulates the steam wand partially. And that's really nice because when you do that cleaning, all you have to do is give it a quick wipe with a towel. The milk doesn't get crusted on the wand like most other machines, and it's really nice and a very nice touch by Breville, pun intended. Meanwhile, when you go onto the Barista Pro, it has a classic manual steam wand. Now, this is still a very good steam wand. It's got a 4-hole tip, and the thermojet starts heating and steaming within 10 seconds, which is really nice. You can have full control over your milk froth and your texture. And if you're someone who likes steaming milk and likes latte art, you're actually probably going to prefer more. And it takes about the same time to froth milk as the Barista Touch. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan of steaming milk, and I am not good at latte art. So I love the Barista Touch steam wand. I love just the simplicity of it. But that depends on you. Now, normally, we would spend more time talking about espresso when we're reviewing 2 espresso machines, but this time we haven't, and that's because the espresso is almost the same. And that's a good thing, because both machines use Breville's latest thermojet heating system. And this is their upgraded thermocoil that is just a thinner substrate material, which starts very quickly. Actually, both machines start up within 3 seconds and are ready to go. And also the temperature is very consistent, very stable. And that's really nice, especially for a consumer machine, to get a more consistent and even extraction. Not only that, but they both have the same integrated conical burr grinder. This is the exact same burr design. And it doses right into your portafilter, which is really nice. And both machines, you can actually do a quick tap and pause grind if you want to distribute the grounds. So again, the same there. And the settings on the grinder are exactly the same. They both have 30 settings each. And I like that Breville added the extra settings because that just allows you to dial in your grind setting to exactly what you need. Espresso is a nuanced drink, and so getting that more granular control is very helpful. I found myself going between a 9, 10, or 11 setting on the grind size for both machines, and so that's nice they added those extra settings there. So like I said, almost exactly the same, except there are 2 small things that I do want to point out that are different. So first, the dosing is a little different in the sense of the Barista Touch doses based on time. Meanwhile, the Barista Pro doses based on volume. So the Barista Touch double shot is a 30-second shot always. The Barista Pro usually gets defaulted to 30 grams of espresso out, and then you can customize that. Now, I like the volumetric dosing on the Pro. The way I think about it is you really care about how much espresso you're getting out, not how long it takes that espresso to come out. Think about it this way. When you go to a cafe and order an espresso, you order a single shot or a double shot. You don't order a 30-second shot or a 45-second shot. So I do like the Pro there. There's a second difference too, and this relates to Preinfusion. So both machines have a low-pressure Preinfusion, which is really nice. The low-pressure Preinfusion just evenly soaks your espresso puck, so the grounds are more even, so when you go to the full 912 bars of pressure, the extraction is a lot more even and it reduces channeling. So that's better for your espresso. But the difference here is that the Barista Touch is programmed automatically to a 7-second Preinfusion. Meanwhile, the Barista Pro, you can actually change your Preinfusion time by holding down the 1 cup or the 2 cup buttons for a manual mode. I tend to program it to about a 10-second Preinfusion on the Pro, which I find is just a little bit better for extraction. Now, to be clear, they are pretty much the same. I am somewhat splitting hairs here as someone who gets pretty into testing different espresso machines, but most people will not notice these differences. Honestly, you can use a scale for both to measure out by volume, and a 7-second Preinfusion time is pretty good for both machines. So very good espresso from both of these models. So to summarize, where do I stand on these machines? Well, I really like the Barista Touch, and I really liked it because of that steam wand. It was a lot easier for me to use. But the Touch does come at a price tag of over $1,000, and it's about $250 more expensive than the Pro as of this filming. So I do think it really depends on you and what you value. If you're making a lot of lattes and you really value that ease of use and simplicity, I would go with the Barista Touch. If you just make espressos and Americanos, I would definitely go with the Barista Pro. And actually, I prefer their screen just because it's simpler. Or if you're someone who wants to have a lot of control over their milk frothing, I would probably go with the Barista Pro as well. But you can find both these products in the description below, along with more detail on our blog, and you can see the latest prices there. If you enjoyed this video, hit like or subscribe as it really helps support our channel.